Ah, Molly. Oh my goodness. Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just going to let everyone pop in here. I see some old faces, some new faces, some students, some past students. Oh, this makes me so excited. Hi, Alexandria. Hi. Lori. Hi. Hi, Brooke. Hi. Oh, wow. I'm so, so grateful that you're here. Okay. Can everyone hear and see me okay? Yes. Very good. Okay. I start right on time, but I'm going to give people an extra 30 seconds. Lori, hi. I'm going to give people an extra 30 seconds to just ground themselves and come in. And I'm going to frame what we're going to be doing here today over the next hour. So first of all, welcome. I'm Adele. You probably already know that because you're here. And if this is the first time you're meeting me, I'd love for you to pop in the chat how you found me, like how you came to be here, maybe where you're from. I want to know where you're from. I'm currently living in Florida, but I am from Canada. And I just want to know where you're from, what brings you here today. It's going to be very interactive. I'm going to have you guys do a lot of putting things in the chat, because what I have found is oh, hi, Christine. If you just watch me like television, right, then things will land okay. But if you engage with me in the content and you really think about the things I'm asking you, and you post in the chat and you engage with the community, I find that the things will land a lot more powerfully. Oh, hi, Joanne. Oh, in Toronto from Code. Amazing. Tell me where you're from, how you found me. I'd love to know. From Ontario. Yes, nice. Fellow Canadians. Edmonton. I was born in Edmonton. How fabulous. It's bloody cold. From Ontario, live in Houston. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Toronto as well. Hi, Saskatchewan. Oh, I love it. Oh, it makes my heart so happy to see so many people come together from everywhere. Catherine from Toronto, live in California. That's right. We met in grade 4 on story time in the carpet. That is actually a true story. Love it. Daniela, we've come a long way. Okay. You guys can keep communicating in the chat, and I'm going to get started. So I want to just ground us with a deep breath before I even start fire hosing. I sort of teach like a fire hose. Some of you already know that. So let's just ground ourselves and take a couple deep breaths before I start, because I've also just, as an energetic being, someone that's able to pick up on energy, there's so much going on in the world right now. You know, whether you watch the news or not, you probably feel everything going on in the world, in Russia and the Ukraine. And actually, that's where my heritage is from. My parents are Russian immigrants. I'm the first generation Canadian. And so my heart feels very deeply for what's going on in the world. And I don't ever want to skim past what people are experiencing and feeling in the world. And for that reason, I actually changed a little bit of the content that I was going to teach today based on what's going on in the world, because I want to have you leave here today feeling like you have tools to process some of your emotions, because there's a lot going on in the world. And we actually now more than ever have to be very responsible for our emotions. We have to be very responsible for our triggers. We have to be very responsible for healing our own trauma, which we're going to be talking a little bit about today. We have to be responsible, because as we heal ourselves, the world collectively heals. Okay? And I want that to land for you. There is no healing outside of healing self. So as a result, I'm bringing in some other content that I wouldn't normally teach in a free masterclass, but I wanted to bring it in because it was powerful and important that we talk about it today. So let's just take a deep breath together as a community. So inhaling deeply through our nose and exhale out the mouth. And inhale. And exhale. I just want you to feel your body in the room, your feet grounded, planted on the ground. And this anchoring of being grounded will remind you that no matter what you're feeling or experiencing in this hour with me, bringing your awareness back to your breath or back to the feet on the ground will help remind you that in this moment you're safe and all is well. And this grounding is going to be very important, as some of the things I take you through today may and can trigger certain emotions for you, and that is okay. This is a safe space. This is my work. This is the work that I've been trained to do, so you're okay. This is a safe space. I have you. I'm holding you collectively. And I'm grateful for each of you. I'm proud of each of you for spending this time here to work on yourself. I want you to open your heart. So you could put your right hand over your heart if that feels good. And I want you to just think of one thing in this moment that you're extremely grateful for. Maybe it's your safety or your ability to choose or all of the blessings that you have in your life. And open your heart as we open this sacred space together. And open your heart to each and every one of these people that are here. Some of them are friends and some of them are strangers, but at the end of this hour together, they will be community. And that is the beauty of this work. And one last thing here, I want you to get grounded in the question that I always ask when I start these kinds of workshops is, what do you truly desire in your heart right now? Is it more peace, more prosperity, more abundance, more love, more joy, more choices, more options, more opportunities, better connections? Whatever it is, just bring it into the space as we collectively hold all of your desires and intentions here today. The power of this work as we do it together amplifies the coding in the universe and draws those things closer to you as we collectively do this work together. Taking one deep, intentional breath and exhale out, sigh. And when you feel anchored and ready, you can open your eyes. Okay, beautiful. Now we're here. Okay, so what are we doing today? Who knows? Just kidding. I have a plan. Aren't you happy I have a plan? So here's the plan. I'm going to take you through, this is how I lead my programs. And for those of you who are in my work, you know this, but if you're new, then beautiful. I'm going to lead you through about, I might go over 5 or 10 minutes. So if hopefully that's okay with you and you can stay till the end. If not, this is recorded, but I encourage you to stay all the way through. And here's why. When I'm teaching, I'm essentially transmitting information. Like I get a download and I transmit. And I want you to stay till the end of the transmission, if that makes sense. I get that sometimes you have to go, but ask yourself, is that my ego telling me I have to go, or can I really just spend an extra few minutes here today? Okay, so stay till the end if you can. I'm going to be sharing at the end a very incredible opportunity for some of you who've never been in my work. If you are feeling aligned and want to deepen your understanding of what I'm teaching here today, I'm going to share an experience that you can do and a really powerful bonus opportunity for that. So try to stay all the way to the end and bear with me if I go 5 or 10 minutes over, okay? So here's my thought for the day. This is what's going to be the context of our conversation. The context of our conversation is you are going to start to make decisions in your life from inspiration rather than negative motivation. Okay, I'm going to say that again. And Grace, can you wave to the group? This is Grace. Grace is a part of my team. She's been sending you all the emails and all the things. She's fantastic. Grace is going to be popping Adele quotes. We like to call them Adelisms into the chat. So if you're like, what the hell did Adele just say? Don't worry, she's got you. She's got fast fingers. She can be typing in the chat. But I do want you to make notes and listen. This is also recorded, so you'll get to rewatch it for 48 hours after. So if some things just went over your head, no problem, you'll get to rewatch it. So the thought for the day is make decisions from inspiration rather than negative motivation. Okay, what does this mean? So a bit of background about me firstly, and why I'm even bringing this to you today is I studied psychology for 20 years, and I have a degree in neuropsychology from McGill University and a lot of other degrees on my wall, but that doesn't really matter. Who cares about that? What matters is that I've been studying the brain and behavior for the last 20 years, okay? And I'm going to be bringing some things about the brain today because I want you to understand that the way that you've been trained to think and make decisions in your life have not really been to live your most desired ideal life. most of the way that we're trained to live our life as children is to stay safe. Does that make sense? Most people live their entire life to be safe. And today I'm going to teach you something that I have been very fortunate that I've had some mentors in my life. One of those mentors was Bob Proctor, who recently just passed away. And I'm going to take you through some of the things that Bob Proctor taught me when I was mentoring with him. And when I say that this lesson is like $1 million lesson, I'm telling you that if you apply the principles of what I'm teaching you here today, your life will absolutely change 1000%. There is no way you'll be in my energy and going into this frequency with me without it making a change. But here's how I encourage you to listen to me today. I want you to listen to me with your most aware self. I want you to listen to me with your highest self today. I want you to listen to me like if you really want your life to change, like you're here for a big reason, something is going to land today. And it's going to land so powerfully that things in your life are going to start to snowball. Does this make sense? Okay, very cool. So when I say make decisions from inspiration rather than negative motivation, here's what I mean. Most people, and they do this unconsciously. So I'll speak a little bit today about the conscious and subconscious mind, but just for context, most of us make decisions to avoid pain and run away from fear. We don't make decisions based on what we desire. We make decisions based on what we don't want. What does this mean? I don't want to be stressed. The mind hears stressed. I don't want to be in debt. The mind hears debt. I don't want to be in this, I don't want to feel this way in this relationship. So we're constantly making decisions, moving away from something versus moving towards something. Yes? Yeah. So so I often say yes, but it's like, sometimes I feel like people look at me like it's television, but I can see you. So, hopefully you don't think it's television. So the idea is most people make decisions running away from something. And this in and of itself, my friends, is so profound because when I got this for myself, so, when I started this journey for myself, one of the biggest reasons I went into the work that I teach is because I suffered from depression in my 20s. So much so that I had to go on antidepressant medication and the whole deal. And it got me extremely fascinated with the brain, and it got me extremely fascinated with the world of personal growth and development and mindset work because I very much suffered with depression and anxiety. And through the work that I'm teaching here today and the work that I teach, I have been able to, I don't want to say heal myself of depression, but I have never again suffered from depression. So if you're someone that's struggling right now, I want you to know that you're okay and it doesn't have to be that way. So let's talk about this idea of decisions from negative motivation versus inspiration. So let's talk about our brains for a second. Every one of us has in our brain a part of the brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala is the part of your brain that says fight, flight, or freeze. It is the most primal part of the brain, okay? This is the part of the brain that when we were running from tigers and bears, it was the part that would say, run, 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 you're not safe. Now, this part of the brain is extremely important. I mean, could you imagine you didn't have an amygdala? Like you would see a car heading towards you and just get hit. You wouldn't have a reflex to run. But the problem is that most of how you spend your life is running from some bear that's not actually chasing you. Right? Now, why is this important? Because we're going to talk a little bit about unprocessed trauma here today. What we have found when we look at images of brains of people who have unprocessed trauma, and we'll talk about what trauma is in a moment and what it isn't. But when we look at the brains of people that have unprocessed trauma, what we find is their amygdala, so that part of the brain that's trying to keep you safe and alive, it's extremely engulfed. It's much bigger as a structure than it should be. Raise your hand if this makes sense, and you can even see for yourself that this can be true. Okay, yeah. So the amygdala of people with trauma is on hyper alert. So it's like hyper speed. It's like something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. Okay, now, so very good. But on the other hand, we also have a part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is where we make decisions from. It's our decision making, our planning, our strategizing. It's all the ways that we make our life work, okay? Now, here's the interesting part. When our amygdala is flared up, our prefrontal cortex is shut down. So we no longer know how to make decisions. Yes? This is so big, guys. This is so big because if you don't really, if you never learn to heal this aspect of yourself, most of how you live your life, and I was the same, by the way, up until really 10 years ago, but really 5 years ago is when my life really changed. Because I recognized that every decision I was making was running away from pain or fear. It was like the amygdala response. It wasn't moving towards desire. It wasn't making decisions from inspiration and desire and what do I really want from my life. It was making decisions so that I didn't feel anxious, so that I didn't feel depressed, so that I didn't feel pain in my relationships. So when the amygdala is high and flared up, the prefrontal cortex is shut down. So your ability to think and reason and problem solve is completely shut down. That's a problem. This might explain the news. This might explain the world. You've got a bunch of traumatized people in a traumatic response right now. That's why this work today, like when I even say today, I actually mean today, is so important. Okay, let's take it one step further. So you got amygdala. This is the amygdala. You got your prefrontal cortex, and then you have the part of your brain called the neocortex, okay? The neocortex, my friends, is the part of your brain. It's the most, it's the newest part of the brain, let's say from an evolution perspective. And this is the part of the brain that houses your desire. This is the part of the brain that they say where God lives inside of you. This is the part of your brain where your higher and most actualized self lives. The neocortex is the seat of desire. The neocortex is the seat of God in you. The neocortex is why you're here right now. If you thought you were here because you had nothing else to do and you just randomly happened to hang out with me, it doesn't ever happen that way. For those of you that know me well are laughing in recognition. You're here because your neocortex, something inside of your higher self was like, who's this Adele chick? She seems a bit crazy. I'm going there. Yeah, Farah's here a year later. Yeah, every day. So you're something in that higher self, the neocortex is the one that it's your intuition. It's guiding you. It's saying, do this, go there, move here, show up here, connect with this person. It's the higher side of yourself. Now, here's what's really important to understand. Yes, the universe conspired to have me here, Audra, totally. I truly believe that. Now, here's what's important that I want you to really listen and pay attention to, because this is the quintessence. So when your amygdala is high on high alert, I call it hyperspeed, it shuts off your prefrontal cortex and it also shuts off your neocortex. So now you're nothing more than an animal reacting impulsively to your environment. Because what distinguishes you from an animal is that you have a prefrontal cortex and a neocortex. So when people have unhealed trauma, which we're going to talk about next, what do you think is happening to their decision-making? Put it in the chat. I want you to get an understanding. This is, again, when I say please engage with the content, it's going to land deeply for you if you do. So if you are unprocessed in your trauma and your amygdala is running the show, yes, it's off, Kate, exactly. We react from our wounds, exactly. We do. We react from our core wounds, which we're going to talk a little bit about here today. We impair decision-making, make decisions from fear, exactly. So exactly, we make decisions, we aren't able to make decisions. Decisions are not out of inspiration. We feel stuck. Exactly. Bang on. Now, yes, and people that are hurt others. Absolutely. And it's to know it's not a conscious thing. So this is not a blame and shame conversation. We never do that in my space. It's about, you don't know what you don't know. And once you know better, you have to do better. So, but you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of people who are not in this work and have never done anything like this, they'd be in this conversation. They're like, what the actual hell is she talking about? I have no trauma. I'm fine. I'm perfect. Everything's roses and unicorns. What are you looking at me for? And I would call a huge bullshit meter on that. We all have trauma. So that's what we're going to talk about next. So when I now say make decisions from inspiration rather than motivation, what I'm saying is my philosophy in life that Bob Proctor taught me was this. He used to say to me, Adele, as long as you make decisions from inspiration, you will always live a life of design and desire. You'll have everything that you want. So when we decided to move to Florida for 3 months, it was out of inspiration. What does that mean? I want to go to Florida because I desire Florida, not I want to go to Florida because I hate it here. See, there's a distinction between those two things. I want to take this course because I'm so inspired by this woman, not I want to take this course because I'm fucked up and broken. Do you see the difference? Right, Brooke? Most of your decisions are from negative motivation and you don't even know it. And if you just took on this philosophy in life, I promise you, Proctor gave it to me and I'm giving it to you. I give it to all my students. This is like the descendant of this code, which is I live my life only based on inspiration, period. Never on negative motivation. I don't do anything to avoid pain. I only move towards pleasure. I only move towards desire. I only do things that make me feel alive. I do this with you because I love it. There's nothing else I would be doing in my life but this. This is my God-given talent to do this. So it changes the frequency of what I'm doing. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's talk about this idea of unprocessed trauma. Okay. Again, this is a safe space. And everything that happens in this space is held in this space. Okay, so it doesn't go anywhere else. And I really encourage you to come from the place of the more radical self-honesty and self-acceptance that you have for yourself, the more you're going to get out of this. So when I say unprocessed trauma or unhealed trauma, raise your hand if you feel on some level that that's true for you. Okay, cool. Raise your hand if you don't feel like you have any unhealed trauma. So one person has no unhealed trauma. Okay. Okay. That's fine. But I'm going to prove you that that's not actually probably true. So the idea is this, because you wouldn't be here if you didn't. No one is attracted into my work if all is hunky-dory and roses and unicorns. So here's the thing. As a therapist and someone who studied behavioral therapy for a very long time, the word trauma is very misunderstood in the work, okay? And let me explain why. When I used to hear the word trauma, I would think, this is pre-doing the work, pre-studying the work, I would think, well, I didn't have any sexual abuse as a child, or I wasn't hit, so I had a great childhood. This is one of the greatest lies about trauma. Trauma does not mean you were abused or you were hit. Trauma, everybody, could also mean neglect. Trauma also means feeling abandoned by your parents. And actually, trauma means the 4 A's. So write down the 4 A's. If any one of you as children experienced one of these 4 A's, you might have unprocessed trauma. So the 4 A's are this: a lack of affection, a lack of attention, a lack of affirmation, and a lack of acceptance. And now let me ask you if you feel like you've had some unprocessed trauma. Affection, attention, affirmation, and acceptance. Now, let me talk to you about something really important. So when I was growing up, my brother is like almost 10 years older than me. And part of why I'm a student of this work is I had a very tormented relationship with my mother. And I was very, to put it lightly, she was emotionally abusive. And I've done a lot of work over the last 20 years to heal that relationship because my mother suffered from, I mean, she's not been diagnosed, but essentially like narcissistic personality disorder. So if any of you have any family members that suffer from any kind of personality disorder, there is a huge impact on you. So when I was a kid, I would tell my brother how I felt, and he would minimize my trauma. Why? He would say things like, well, we grew up in the same house and like it didn't affect me that way. Anyone have that experience where your trauma was minimized? Like if you had siblings, like, some of you I know have, like, let's say you've got three siblings, you're an only child, you're a middle child, whatever, and everyone in the family has a different experience. So you feel shame now for even experiencing trauma because you had it pretty good as a kid. This is one of the greatest sources of injury that I see for people because they can't even admit that they had some unprocessed trauma. It didn't have to be so bad because let me tell you what the mind and the brain tells you. The brain does not know the difference between being hit and being emotionally abused. The brain doesn't know the difference between being sexually abused and being rejected or neglected as a child. The brain doesn't know a difference as a child. So it is so important to understand that most of us have some level of unprocessed trauma. And I'm going to take you through today 4 major signs that you might have unprocessed trauma. And then I'm going to take you through a very powerful meditation that's going to show you a little bit about how we start to heal those aspects of ourselves. Now, why is it even important to heal aspects of trauma? Why? Well, can you imagine that you're someone that has some trauma that you don't even really think you have? Okay, so that's part 1. But do you find that you're overreactive in relationships with other people? So raise your hand if you're explosive in relationships when you get mad. Just one person? Really? Okay. Sometimes, yeah. What about, do you find that you overreact to certain situations in life? Right, Trish? Yeah. Those are all signs of unprocessed trauma. Now, how does that affect your life? Well, relationships with your spouse, partner, whomever, friends, family. What about if you run a business and you haven't managed your own unprocessed trauma, and then you're in your business and you blow up at a customer or a client or a team member, or with your children? So let me explain to you. I did that this morning, Jennifer. Yeah, totally. We have to take the shame away from it, because if you're coming into this conversation today and you're even getting an awareness like, wow, I actually have some unprocessed stuff I didn't even realize I had because I didn't have the worst childhood, but you know what? I felt neglected. Then this is a great awareness for you to have. So let's talk about this idea that, let's talk about the amygdala again, okay, for a sec. So let's say you're someone that grew up in a family where you felt neglected, or you grew up in a family where you observed physical violence, maybe not to you, but to somebody else. Or you grew up in a family where your parents were always at each other fighting. So my parents, they're still married, God bless their cotton socks, like 55 years or something. But their relationship was like, rah, 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 I hate you. So this was my childhood, but they never left each other. Do you know how traumatic that is for a child? No one ever hit anyone, but it was. So my nervous system, and my mother was, so my nervous system as a child was, my amygdala was like on high alert, boom, boom, hyper vigilant. So what does this mean? When you're someone that has trauma and your amygdala is bigger, remember we said the structure is bigger, this is what you act like. You're hyper vigilant, which means you're always looking over your shoulder. Yes? You're overreactive to things. So you blow up very quickly, or you shut down. Who here's a shut down person? Your head goes under, you turtle right under. You completely unplugged. It's called disassociation. Yeah. It's called like flat affect. So I can tell by the look on some of your faces where you land, by the way. That's part of the gift that I have, is I can see your blind spot before you can see it. I can see if you're a flat, if you disassociate or if you go up. Now, some of you do both, but you do predominantly one. This affects every relationship in your life, especially the one you have with yourself. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So if your amygdala is very high and you have unprocessed trauma in your life, what happens is you either get in a position where we call stuck on. So your amygdala is on. So what does this mean? People that are overreactive. Like you're at the grocery store, someone cuts you off and you're like, get the fuck out of my way. Like you lose your temper. Bursts. Anyone ever hear, like, let's be honest, you see red, like you're so ragey that you could punch a wall? Yeah, and we feel so much shame about it, but I just want you to know it's so normal if you have never really healed this aspect of yourself. I too, if I'm not careful and I teach this work, I can go into blind rage sometimes with my husband. If he even looks at me the wrong way, or I'm in a mood and he says something to me and I haven't worked through my stuff that day, if I haven't grounded myself, I can feel myself having that experience. But because I have the awareness and I've done the work and I know how to heal it, I can bring myself back down to a place of being grounded. The work never ends. So let's say you're someone who overexplodes. How does that affect your self-esteem? Do you feel good about yourself after? Fuck no. Or there's the people that we call stuck off. Stuck off people are, you're in a fight with someone and they're like, boop, 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 and you're like, shut down. You unplug. You disassociate. Flat affect. Like people that show up to my class like this. I don't want to be seen. This is a sign. I'm not making fun. I'm showing you that your body is telling you what's going on. Now, what happens if you're flat affect for too long? Are you living a life of desire and inspiration? Or are you living a life basically in your survival brain? Survival. So let's talk about that. You might not realize you're suffering from unhealed trauma. You might not realize it because, like you said, your childhood wasn't that bad and other people minimized your trauma and you thought you've done the work so far and here you are still. And here's the beauty of it. I've been doing the work for 20 years and I just realized something new about myself a week ago about another place of unhealed trauma that I had. So here are the 4 signs that you could be suffering from unhealed trauma. Okay, and again, remember, trauma means not just a physical violence. It often means the 4 A's: lack of affection, attention, affirmation, and acceptance, any form of neglect. Yes, Marcy's been in my work for years. The layers keep showing up. Exactly. It'll show up at the next level that you're about to have a breakthrough. That's the beauty. So being here today is going to crack something open that's going to lend you to see something newly. And that's powerful because when you change the way you see things, like Wayne Dyer used to say, the things you look at change. Today, you'll leave here from the filter of, there's nothing inherently wrong with me. I was born worthy and nothing's changed. I just have some unhealed and unprocessed trauma that I have the power to change. I have the power to heal that so that I can show up in my most highest expansive self. I can lead with my neocortex. I can lead from desire. I don't have to lead from pain and fear anymore. So 4 signs that you might have unhealed trauma. Sign number 1, Grace is going to put this in the chat. Major trust issues. Major trust issues. Now, let me talk about this for a sec. Yes, and we'll totally, and the trauma we carry through lineage. Ancestral trauma is huge. right? And deep, when I take you at the end of this lesson, I'm going to share about my course where we go deep into healing our trauma from our mom and dad, the wounds, but it's also the wounds that they carry from their mom and dad. This is really, and this is why this work today, healing your ancestral trauma, is like, I just actually don't even think it's optional anymore. This isn't just like, meh, like, I don't know. No, it's not optional. We live in a world that's a lot of trauma. So 4 signs, major trust issues. So what does this mean? So when I say that, people automatically think, well, trusting your spouse or your partner not to cheat on you and blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's very obvious. But it's even subtle cues like this. I don't trust therapy. Therapists are just trying to swindle money. I've had patient clients say that, like, if I worked with couples where it was the husband and wife, the husband would be like, I don't know about this whole therapy thing. It's like, trust issue. They're just trying to swindle me of $100. It's like, trust issue. Or you don't trust the advice of somebody. Like you have a mentor, you pay me for mentorship. You're in my high level mentorship. And you're like, I don't know if I'm going to trust what Adele says. I don't know if I believe it. Trust issues. Trust issues. I don't know if I trust this course. Am I going to get anything out of it? Trust issues. She's just trying to swindle me. Like this, not, yeah, you can't hear anything. You think everyone's up to get you. You're feeling like everyone's duping you. Everything's a hoax. Everything's a pyramid scheme. This is unprocessed trauma as a trust issue. No one's trying to swindle you of anything. Do you get that? Yes, and not trusting your inner voice. But it's, yes, absolutely. Not trusting yourself, not trusting others, thinking everyone's out to get you, thinking everyone's got the worst at hand for you. I see this all the time with people. It's in the subtle things that they say. So raise your hand if you're someone that has trust issues. Beautiful. Thank you for being so honest. Yeah. Sign number 2 that you might be suffering from unhealed trauma. Low self-esteem. Low self-worth. Feeling unworthy, feeling unlovable, feeling like you can't have what you want, feeling like it's for everyone but you, feeling like, you're never going to get there, feeling like it's never going to happen, feeling like you always try and it doesn't work. Anyone have that experience? Yeah, we're going to change that because that's my jam right there. Everything I teach is about raising self-esteem. Everything I teach is about showing you that you were born worthy and nothing has changed, that you were born. The truth about you is so lofty that nothing unworthy of God is worthy of you. Choose then what you want in these terms and accept nothing that you wouldn't offer up to God as wholly fitting for him, which is a direct quote from A Course in Miracles. True self-worth is what my body of work is actually about, because I suffered from low self-esteem my whole life and I didn't fucking know it. But I was beaten down by my mother over a lifetime. So I thought I didn't have low self-esteem because I was a high achiever, right? Like I had a life that worked for the most part. So I wasn't on the street. I wasn't addicted to anything. Like, I didn't think that I suffered from that, but it presented itself in depression. It presented itself in dating the wrong guys, toxic relationships. It presented itself in men that were emotionally abusive to me. It presented itself in other ways. So I became obsessed with healing my own self-esteem and self-worth and helping other women and men heal theirs. Because if we lived in a world where people had high self-esteem, we would not be living in the world that we live in today. And that's a fact. That's why I say this like with tears in my eyes, like this is not just some webinar you showed up to that you're like taking some notes and you're like, yeah, whatever. Like this is life-changing stuff if you want it to be. So low self-esteem shows up in toxic relationships. It is sacred work, totally. Toxic relationships, allowing people to treat you poorly, being a doormat. So I was a doormat. I was a fucking doormat. Until I wasn't. Until I was like a fierce lioness of like, don't fuck with me. vibes, from a place of true self-esteem, not from a place of ego, not from a place of fractured masculine, but from a true place of like, I know my worth in a way that no one can ever take that away from me. So the people that I have in my life, the relationships I've built, the students that I have that have been with me for years, devoted, the relationship that we have, that we love each other, we stand shoulder to shoulder, equal power, but different. I am able to hold space for that because I have high self-esteem. I was not able to hold space for that when I had low self-esteem. And the world needs women to walk shoulder to shoulder, equal power, but different, not competing with each other, poking and projecting, but being able to hold each other. There are some fierce women in this group. And for you to be here with me just tells me that we are coming together as a community of women where we can hold each other. Low self-esteem is a sign of unprocessed trauma. Sign number 3 is what I just talked about before, about it's called emotional stuckness, where you either get stuck in stuck on or stuck off mode. So stuck on again is seeing red, rage, like for no fucking reason. Like you got cut off in traffic and you want to lose it. Your partner looks at you the wrong way and you want to lose it. Your kid didn't, something happens and you get overreactive in your emotions. We call this emotional flooding. In psychology, we call it emotional flooding. So emotional flooding looks like this, and raise your hand if this kind of resonates. Have you ever been in your car, you're driving, everything's fine, or you hear a song that reminds you of your ex that hurt you, and you start to bawl your eyes out? Or you see something that reminds you of something that was traumatic in your life and you get really emotional. This is called emotional flooding. And emotional flooding is one of the greatest signs of unprocessed trauma. So let me tell you a story here. So I've done this work, like I said, for a really long time, intently. Like it's my job and my life. And my husband and I, who just recently got married last September, we both are in this work together, and we do all the things. And something happened the other day, and it was not a big deal at all. Like I can't even tell you what it was. That's how insignificant it was. But he said something or looked at me the wrong way, or maybe I didn't feel he was listening to me intently because he was busy, and men can't multitask. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you weren't listening to me. And I just emotionally flooded. I felt my body go into rage. And because he loves me and because he's in the work with me, he looked at me and he said, what's going on right there for you? Like, what's happening? And I bawled, and I was like, it reminded me of my mom and how I didn't feel heard by her. And it showed me another layer that I thought I had healed, that I hadn't, about feeling deeply abandoned by her. So I was able to ground myself and take myself through the reparenting technique, which I'm going to take you guys through here in a moment. It's my technique that I've created about really bringing calmness to your inner child, to really ground yourself and in this moment, all's well. I really got back in my body, and I was like, Adele, why did you have this experience? And I really worked through that. I got into this huge emotional flood. I felt like I was a 5-year-old again. And so it saves it anchors our relationship with the people that we're with when they know they can trust you to manage your own emotions. And as women, we're not very good at this, if I'm going to be radically honest. The men in our lives are terrified of our emotions because we overreact. Right, Joanne? Men don't feel safe if the women don't know how to manage their emotions. You might want to write that down. So emotional flooding it happens more in women than it does in men. And it's a sign that your memory is literally being brought back to something that happened to you when you're 5. You're not even in what's going on right now. Okay. Now, sign 4 that you might have unprocessed trauma or unresolved trauma is physical pain and symptoms that don't seem to go away. Like people that have back pain, chronic pain, and they go to doctors and stuff, and they're like, you're fine, you're totally fine. And you're like, I'm not fine. I have chronic migraines and pain, and my back is hurting, and this and that. And it's because we know that emotions are stored in the body. We know that trauma is stored in the body. The body is part of the mind. The mind is not the brain, the mind is the body. So if something happened to you as a child, and you had to shut down what happened because it didn't make any sense to you, it got stored in the body. And it shows up and manifests like, symptoms in the body. It also manifests itself in really bad emotional regulation. It manifests itself in overeating, over drinking, buying too many things, sex addiction, impulse control. So when I see someone that has impulse control or emotional dysregulation, I know they have unprocessed trauma. Yes? So raise your hand or put in the chat which of those four you feel for yourself. You're like, wow, I can see it in this one thing. Like, which one? Is it major trust? Is it low self-esteem? Is it emotional stuckness? Is it physical pain? Okay, low self-esteem for sure. 1, trust. Marcy said 3. Oh, wow, there's a lot. All of them. Emotional stuckness. Combo number 2, low self-worth. 2, yeah. 4, all 4. Wow, okay, good. Not good, but thank you for sharing. Impulse control. Beautiful, beautiful. So this is about awareness. What are we going to do about it? So let's talk about this, and I'm going to take you through a powerful meditation. So the idea is this: if you have major trust issues, what are you going to do about that? It starts with honoring your own integrity with yourself and trusting yourself. The reason you don't trust others is because you don't trust yourself. So one of the things that I work with people on to rebuild trust is like a jar of marbles. This is how I explain it to people. And it's funny when I explain this to my 6-year-old, he's like, I get it, Mom. Trust is like a marble jar. Like, but you guys are so stubborn that I have to actually illustrate it for you. So you got this a jar of marbles, and trust is like this. Every time you honor your word to yourself, you put a marble in the jar. Every time you don't honor your word to yourself, you take a marble out of the jar. So most people are marble in, marble out, marble in, marble up, marble in. You hear where I'm going with this? So by the end of the day, you don't trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, how can you possibly trust anybody else? If you're someone that deals with low self-esteem or low self-worth, there's 2 things I want you to take on. Number 1, it's definitely honoring your integrity with yourself. It is rebuilding trust with yourself, because as you rebuild trust, you rebuild self-esteem. But here's the other piece. You have to stop tolerating toxic relationships in your life. And if you're going to go deeper with me in my work, which I'll share later today, I'm going to take you through how you do that in a responsible way and how you put down healthy boundaries, especially around people in your life who are toxic, and if they have any kind of personality disorder, they don't know boundaries. So you're going to have to learn how to work around that. And that's my area of expertise. So it's about boundaries. It's about honoring your word. It's about not putting up with people that treat you poorly. Now, if you're someone that has emotional stuckness, like stuck on or stuck off. So if you're a stuck on person, I'm going to take you through a meditation here today that's going to help you get grounded. But any kind of grounding, any kind of meditation and mindfulness, any kind of body scanning, any kind of emotional freedom technique, anything that's going to put you back in your body and calm your nervous system is important. If you're a stuck off person and you're kind of flat, you actually have to engage the body. Make sense? You have to engage the body. You can't just be like an amoeba. You have to engage the body. I call it the Marshmallow Blob, if you've listened to my podcast. It's the person that's just like a blob, because it's like actually what happens when, I'm a bit of a nature geek, but if you were ever to watch a bear eat like a deer, okay? What happens is when the deer is being eaten, it goes into actually a very relaxed state, so that when it dies, it doesn't have any fear. This is called fight, flight, or freezing. So some of you are frozen in life. Do you get that? Raise your hand if you feel frozen sometimes. Yeah. That's a huge sign of like you're not in the right place energetically, because you've never worked through it, okay? And if you're someone that has physical pain and symptoms and all that stuff, again, same things, mindfulness, meditation, being in your body, doing grounding things, like moving your body, being in your body, healing the trauma, doing the mindfulness, the meditation, working through any of it, it's going to help relieve you of those things. So on that note, we're going to spend about 5 minutes here doing a really powerful meditation, okay? So if you're driving, don't do this while you're driving, listen to it later. Don't have your phone near you. Don't write any notes. I just want you to surrender to this practice. It's very powerful. And when we're done with that, I'm going to have a few of you share in the chat what you really experienced for yourself. And then I'm going to share with you an opportunity to deepen the work if it feels aligned for you to go deeper. And if you feel like this is the time for you to really work through, and again, remember, even if you've worked through trauma, there are so many layers. Like if you're like, this is the next layer for me, okay? So close your eyes. And again, when I say close your eyes, this is, okay, just watch me for a sec. So every time I run this kind of thing and I say close your eyes, I always have people that are like this. And I'm like, I see you, your eyes are not closed. Close your bloody eyes. Just take the coaching, close your eyes and relax. You're gonna be okay. I wanna find the music that I wanna play here. It's a very sacred music. But for now, just breathe deeply into your belly. I want you to sit up straight. Imagine that your spine is so straight that you could put a pole through the top of your head all the way down to your sacrum. And I want you to breathe deeply into your belly and exhale out the mouth. Inhale and exhale. I want you to feel your palms open on your lap in the position to receive, position of the divine mother, the divine feminine in all of us, grounded, supported by her environment, completely held. I want you to start to feel in your body, where in your body you feel the most energy or sensation. And perhaps it's your stomach, your heart, or your throat. And I want you to gently bring some breath to all those parts that need it, gently and softly. And I want you to tell yourself, I'm safe here in this moment. It is safe for me to go here. I am held. I am supported. I am loved. I want you to imagine yourself as a little child, about the age of 4 or 5. Scared and feeling alone. Behind a wall. Maybe the door is a little bit open, but you feel too afraid to come out. Just allow yourself to feel what you feel from a place of unconditional love and non-judgment for yourself. And then you feel that someone is coming up to the door and you peek out and you see that it's you, as you are now, standing at the door. And you ask, is it okay if I join you? And your inner child, the small you, says, okay. So you go and you meet you now, and you stand together in the room. And the older version of you bends down to be at the same level as the 4-year-old you, and you ask, what are you really afraid of? And you listen without the need to change or do anything, with an ear of compassion. And you let the child know that they're safe, that you love them, that you're always here for them, that you're sorry that you ever left, and that you promise to never leave again. And perhaps you embrace the small child if they will allow it. And as you hold the child, let them know they're safe. And as you hold the child, or maybe you're just holding their hand, we're going to repeat a series of affirmations together until you feel a sense of ease, a sense of coming home to, becoming one with that small portion of you, that small child that lies within all of us that feels abandoned. You are safe and loved no matter what. You are worthy of love in your life. You can have whatever your heart desires simply because you exist. Everything is always happening for my highest and best good. I am exactly where I need to be in this moment. All is well in my world. I allow myself to receive love and support in my life from others. I am whole, perfect, and complete as I am. You look in your child's eyes and you let them know how much you love them and how much you care, and that you'll be back to visit again soon. And the child goes back to the door behind the wall, but perhaps this time the door is left just a little bit more open. And as you stand there, you repeat to yourself, I am whole, perfect, and complete as I am. And slowly and gently find yourself coming back into your body in the room, feeling back into your body, noticing how the body feels now, noticing any areas that feel that they need a bit more love, or perhaps you feel more open, wiggling your fingers and your toes and feeling back the breath in your belly. And when you feel ready, slowly coming back into the room and opening your eyes. Beautiful. That felt very powerful. When you feel connected again, I would love for you to put in the chat what you felt, what you experienced, what your child said to you. It was emotional. Yeah, of course it's emotional. For some of us, we've never spoken to that part of ourselves. What did the child say you was scared of when you asked it? Oh, nice. Brian felt safety. Tears of vulnerable. That was powerful. Thank you. Surprised and long overdue. Lots of vibration in my third eye. Yes. The seat of intuition. That was powerful and healing. Yes. Very healing, very emotional, sad. Okay, that's okay. I experienced the child honestly expressing her lack of self-esteem. Yes. I didn't didn't want to leave her. Yes. 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 It's so beautiful. Felt very connected to my inner mother. Good. That's amazing. Fear of not being enough and speaking up. Beautiful. So the inner child is actually a psychological construct that is a part of who we actually are. It's a mental construct. We each have this version of ourselves that, oh, let me just read this. Emotional, needed more time. Yeah, well, we'll share more about that. There's only so much we can do here in this time, but that was a really good start. So the idea is the inner child is actually a part of all of us. It's the part of us that's about 3 to 6 years old, where if any emotional trauma or any trauma did happen, it's where we get emotionally stuck. Okay. And for most of us, if we've never done the work, or even if you've done the work, there's still a part of you have to engage with this inner child, quite honestly, very frequently. So what I just took you through is what I have called my reparenting technique. It's something I have created in order to connect with and heal and give that part of yourself the love and the affection and the attention and the affirmation and the acceptance that perhaps your parents didn't know how to give you. Not because they didn't love you, but because they didn't know how, and they probably didn't love themselves. And they had a lot of unhealed trauma. And if you want to have a lens of compassion, go think about your parents' parents for a minute. And then ask yourself, really, like when I think about my mom's mom, I'm like, wow, like the fact that my mom survived her mom is like, anyway, that's a whole other story. So yes, we're always doing our best on the level of awareness. Amazing. Okay, so we're at 12:30. I'm going to spend a few more minutes here to share, if this resonated for you, what you can do about it. So this, what I just took you through here in this hour, is a glimmer into the body of work that I have. Okay. And some of you have been in my courses before, others are fresh faces. So it's amazing. So regardless of where you're at, this is beautiful. So the course that I have that's starting next Wednesday, March 2nd, and Grace is going to put all this in the chat for you. It is called my CEO Blueprint Masterclass Series. And the CEO stands for confidence, empathy, and opportunity. And it is my foundational work. So I teach a lot of courses, but the CEO Blueprint is the work about healing your inner child. It's the work that started me on this journey 10 years ago. It's the work that changed, it changed everything for me, because it's the work about the self-worth and the self-esteem. So none of the manifestation stuff I teach and none of the communication stuff I teach matters if you don't have this foundational piece. Does this make sense? Because it lands differently when you heal yourself. So the CEO Blueprint Masterclass Series starts next Wednesday. It is a 4-week program. So let me explain what's included. It's 4 weeks, and each week it's a live session with me like this for 90 minutes. So it's every Wednesday, 4 weeks in a row. Grace is going to pop the link in the chat as well, so you can take a look at the landing page. Okay. The classes, the work is so powerful. The classes are 90 minutes, and it's very much like this, but it's also you engage with me. So I open it up for people to share, ask questions, work with me on the spot, like get coaching. It's extremely powerful. I only offer this program about once a year now, maybe twice. I don't offer it as much as I used to. So I am offering it right now, and it starts next Wednesday. It is $497 for 4 weeks with me, which includes a Facebook group and community where I go live in the group and I engage with you in the group. It's very powerful. People that have done the course are like, it's like 25 years of therapy in 4 weeks. You also get to be part of the community. People get to share. It's like, how can I say it? It's honestly one of the best things I offer for a very low price, because I wanted to have a very low barrier of entry for people. On Monday, February 28th, the price goes up to $597. Right now it's $497. And I also really felt inspired to offer a bonus opportunity. So for people that registered today by 5 o'clock, the first 10 people that do, I'm opening up a group, like a bonus group Q&A session with me. So bonus group Q&A and coaching session with me is what I offer in my high ticket mastermind. So basically you come into a session and you get to ask me questions and get coaching on the spot. So that is a bonus for anyone that registers today. The first 10 that register by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today get this bonus Q&A. If you've already registered for the course, you're going to be looped into that as well. So don't worry about that. So here's what I will tell you about this. And there are people that are popping in the chat that have done the work. It's absolutely no regrets taking the program. So thankful. This program is the one that changed my life. Like I said, I teach a lot of different courses, but my heart is very much in this program, because I wouldn't be where I am today had I not healed the core wounds I have around my mom and my dad and all the things. I would still be living a life where I was not living in desire. I was living in negative motivation, not inspiration. I'm going to teach you in this program how to deactivate the amygdala so you start to make decisions from the neocortex and from the prefrontal cortex. So if you are feeling inspired to continue the work, Grace has popped. Have you popped that in the chat, Grace? The link? Grace is going to pop the link in the chat for you right here. Yeah, Far Road was so transformative for me after therapy, coaching, mentorship. This work finally clicked for me. Yeah. If I'm someone that lands for you, like if the way I teach lands for you, then I would invite you to join, because if for me, how it's always worked is when I've found a mentor that lands for me, it's like, that's the one. Yeah, that's the link there, Grace. Yeah. Okay, cool. So so if you have any questions, so on Wednesdays, the meetings are 11:30 to 1. They are recorded. So if you can't make one of them, don't worry, you're going to get the recording that same day and you get to watch that. Catherine said, as an inner child healing coach, do this with Adele. If you're feeling drawn to her, it will change your life. Yeah, totally. Thanks, Catherine. So every Wednesday, 11:30 to 1 live. If you can't make it, it's recorded and the recording is sent out to you. Do not do the thing where you're like, I'll do it next time. Next time is how you keep yourself stuck where you are, because the course is now, you're here now. You wouldn't be here if you weren't ready. Okay. Trust yourself. Ask yourself, is this something that feels in line with where I'm going? If you feel inspired, I would love, love, love to have you. Okay. So that is the link. Grace, I'm just asking if you're sure about that, because usually the link we give is the ceoblueprint.co/course. But if you're sure that that's the link, then yeah, it sent me to get on the list. Yeah, so that's not the right link, I don't think. Here, let me just pop it in. Let's try this one. CEO. This is usually the one that we do. Can someone test that one out for me? What comes after this offer, other courses, programs, Jennifer? Yes. So the CEO Blueprint, the 4-week program, is the beginning of a 3-part series that I teach. But in order to get into any of those other courses, you have to start at the foundational program, because the foundational work is what's going to set you up for everything else. I do teach other courses throughout the year, but the CEO Blueprint, like what I took you through today and taking this to the next level, yeah, that works. That's the link, guys. Yeah, perfect. So that's the one that I just put. The ceoblueprint.co/course is the one that starts next Wednesday. So that's the foundational piece. If you're not following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. If you haven't added yourself to the private Facebook group for this free masterclass, please do that, because I'll probably pop some things going live over the next week there. So make sure you're part of that, because you'll get some extra bonuses there. And like I said, for the first 10 that register, you get a Q&A coaching session with me, which is like pretty bananas as an offer, which is amazing. Yeah, if you've done CEO Blueprint, need to do it again to do the next courses. Yes, it's true. If you've done it, you have to go back to the course to be in line with all the courses. But here's the thing about this course that I'm going to be teaching on next Wednesday. Every time I teach it, it's different because I'm different. Every time I teach it, I amplify because I'm amplified. Every time I teach it, I add new things. So actually, you could do the course every year and it'd be different. And that's the beauty of this work, is that I'm different, it's different, my energy is different. Okay. So we are at 12:38. I don't want to keep you too much longer. You have the link. Grace is going to email that to you as well with the recording. As soon as the recording is done, we're going to email that to you with the links, all the things. I have loved spending this time with you. I hope you had got massive value out of being here today. Before I let you go, pop in the chat your greatest insight from today. What was your greatest aha, your greatest golden nugget, your greatest thing that you're going to take with you today? Put in there what you got from today. And if you have any other questions about the program, please reach out to me or Grace and we can answer that for you. Love the energy of this squad. Totally move from inspiration. Thanks, Del. Florida's happy to have you. Yes. To stop ignoring. Nice. Give me your golden nugget. Best way to start my day. Your energy is so special. Thank you, Catherine. My time conversation skills suck. Oh, Sherry, honor my own integrity. You're amazing. I love the reparenting technique. Yes. And I go deeper into the reparenting technique in the course. Like we deepen the reparenting technique. I want to spend more time with my inner child. Nice. Learning about my inner child, wanting to spend more time with her. Yes. Come join me then. Let's do it. Nothing is wrong with me. Maybe just unhealed trauma, which I can address. Yes. Can't wait to hang out with my inner child. She's kick-ass. I got that I don't have to be significant and unhealed trauma. It's okay to still be healing. You're always going to still be healing. It is the plot of the ego tells you that you should already be somewhere you're not. I was born worthy and nothing has changed, Renee. Abso-fucking-lutely. All right. I love you all. Have a beautiful day. We'll send you the recording. I hope to see you next Wednesday. Bye for now. Bye.